Before the fame, before the millions, before the screams, the lights, the applause, there was only silence. In a forgotten city in the United States, a boy was born. A boy the world would never notice. A skinny kid surrounded by poverty, drugs, and violence. Son of an addicted mother, of an imprisoned father. With no structure, no inheritance, no guarantees. While other children played, he was beaten by life. While the world slept, he trained. He wasn't born lucky. He was born hungry. Hungry to win. And with an absurd faith that one day, all of it would make sense. Today, that same boy is known as Floyd Mayweather. One of the greatest of all time. Undefeated. A multi-billionaire. Feared. Respected. A global symbol of excellence. But understand this. This story was never just about boxing. Never just about talent. This story is about a pattern, a code, a silent process that few follow, but that everyone who ever won has lived. And this code, you can follow it too, because Floyd wasn't born ready. He was generated, cultivated, formed day by day. And if you follow the same path, with the same faith, the same discipline, the same cold mindset, life will hand you what now seems impossible. Everything starts in the invisible, but only the disciplined reap in the visible. This is the code of victory. And today, you will learn how to decode it. Floyd Mayweather was born on an invisible battlefield. It wasn't a war between countries. It was a war against abandonment, against hunger, against hopelessness. He grew up in one of the poorest neighborhoods in Michigan, where crime was routine, where the sound of gunshots was part of the night, where childhood was stolen early, and all that remained was survival. His mother struggled with addiction. His father, Floyd Sr., was more present in training than as a father, and even then, he would end up in prison. The house they lived in had holes in the floor. Sometimes there was no food in the fridge, but even so, something was growing there. Floyd didn't have expensive toys, but he had an old punching bag in the basement, and a dream. A dream with no evidence, no guarantees. A dream fueled not by what he saw, but by what he felt deep inside. And that feeling grew stronger with every blow life threw at him. With every absence, with every injustice. With every time someone said he would never make it. He wasn't famous yet. He wasn't feared yet. But he was already obsessed. Already disciplined. He was the kind of kid who got up early to run, even with no one telling him to, because he had already heard the calling. And the calling said, either you become a legend, or you become a statistic. Every hero is born in the midst of chaos. And Floyd Mayweather was born exactly where many give up. But he chose to fight, not for applause, not for fame, but for something greater. To prove to himself that he was not what they said he was. He was what he chose to become. Because the beginning of every empire is invisible, and only those who believe in the invisible ever get there. The world didn't know him yet. The cameras weren't rolling. There was no applause, no spotlight. But it was there, in the solitude of training, that Floyd Mayweather was being formed. Day after day, he watered his seed. While others were still asleep, he was already up, running through the cold streets of Michigan, not out of obligation, but out of conviction. Because he knew, the harvest only comes to those who honor the gestation. At an age when many are distracted, chasing fleeting pleasures, Floyd was building something invisible. His pattern. He repeated the same movements thousands of times. Corrected small mistakes with obsession. Studied opponents that didn't even exist yet. To outsiders, he was just another skinny kid trying to make it in life. But inside lived a warrior. A mathematician of the ring. A monk of precision. He knew that talent alone wouldn't win. That brute strength wouldn't build a legacy. That the great ones are made in the dark. Because when you believe in the invisible, the darkness doesn't scare you. The silence doesn't bother you. The sweat isn't suffering. It's a seed. while others chased instant fame. Floyd chose the rarer path, the path of continuous sacrifice. The one no one applauds, but the one that transforms ordinary men into eternal legends. With every lonely training session, every sleepless night, every ignored pain, Mayweather was generating the future. Because that's how life works. It tests those who truly deserve it. It gives time to time. And only those who don't give up on the process reach the top. You don't see a seed growing, but one day breaks through the earth. There comes a moment in every hero's journey when the invisible begins to become visible. After years in the dark, watering his faith with sweat and silence, Floyd Mayweather began to reap the first fruits of what he had been cultivating since childhood. And when he stepped into the ring as a professional in 1996, it didn't feel new, it felt inevitable. Every movement had purpose. Every dodge looked rehearsed 1,000 times. His precision was surgical and his composure terrifying. He didn't fight with rage, he fought with calculation, as if he already knew what the other man would do before he did it. He wasn't a reckless gladiator, he was a strategist. And the world began to pay attention. Soon came the first victories, one after another. But Mayweather didn't just want to win, he wanted to dominate. And that's exactly what he did. Against Diego Corrales in 2001, he didn't just win, he shattered the narrative. Corrales was a tough, undefeated opponent, considered a real threat. But Mayweather knocked him down 5 times. 5, and still walked away without a mark on his face, as if he'd never even been in a fight. It was like watching an artist perform, executing a perfect choreography in the middle of a war. Then came Oscar de la Hoya in 2007. That fight was more than a title bout. It was a war of generations, egos, and styles. And in the end, Mayweather won. Not just with his fists, but with his mind. He won because he thought faster, because he waited, because he knew the game better than most. And in that moment, something changed. He stopped being just a great boxer. He became the center of the industry. The man who didn't need to beg for fights. The fights came to him. Because everyone wanted to face him. And deep down, everyone knew they wouldn't leave victorious. But the most impressive part wasn't just the number of wins. It was the way he won. While others traded punches blindly, Mayweather turned defense into an art. He turned counterattacking into a dance. And above all, he made self-control his unbreakable shield. That's when the world saw the difference between a fighter and an architect. Mayweather wasn't just power, he was calculation. He was precision. He was timing. He understood that true success doesn't come from impulse. It comes from strategic patience. It's about waiting for the right moment, about not cracking under pressure, about being ice cold in the middle of the fire. While fans wanted knockouts, he offered total control. While critics asked for aggression, he delivered mastery. And even without pleasing everyone, he did what few ever do. He won. Always. Because he understood what many still don't. The true victory isn't made of explosions. It's made of gestation, of silent accumulation, of small, consistent, invisible actions that one day break the surface with the force of an earthquake. Floyd Mayweather's rise wasn't a miracle. It wasn't luck, it was consequence. It's a direct result of a formula he followed with fanaticism. Discipline plus time equals inevitability. And when the eyes of the world finally turned to him, he was already ready. Because while the world slept, he was preparing. And when opportunity came, he didn't let it slip away. That was the beginning of the Mayweather era. The beginning of a new way to win. Not with brute strength, but with brute intelligence, with long-term vision, with an invincible mindset, and above all, with the unshakable faith that all of it was already his, even before the world believed it. There are victories that make a mark. There are victories that go down in history. But there are victories that seal an era, that end all debates. That put a final period where once there were only question marks. And that is exactly what Floyd Mayweather did. For years, he built, in silence, with discipline, step by step, fighting against everything, including public opinion, which constantly tried to diminish him. They called him arrogant, a coward for avoiding unnecessary risks, too defensive. But what no one understood is that Floyd had already grasped something few are mature enough to accept. Absolute victory doesn't belong to the impulsive. It belongs to the architects. And in 2015, during the so-called fight of the century, that truth came to light with full force. Floyd Mayweather versus Manny Pacquiao. Two boxing titans, two brilliant paths, two opposing worldviews inside the ring. On one side, Pacquiao, aggressive, explosive, beloved by the masses, a symbol of heart and action. On the other, Mayweather, technical, cerebral, cold, a symbol of control and patience. The fight was much more than a battle for belts. It represented two paths, two life philosophies. And that day, the world didn't just witness a fight, it witnessed a lesson. Floyd stepped into the ring as he always did, serene, calculated, unshakable. And over the course of the rounds, he dismantled the Pacquiao myth, not with brutality, but with precision. Every slip, every jab, every retreat was meticulously planned. It was like watching a maestro conduct a symphony, while the other man tried to play scattered notes in fury. When the final bell rang, the decision was unanimous. Floyd Mayweather won. But what he achieved in that moment went far beyond a title. He had confirmed before millions around the world that there is a pattern to absolute success, that patience is not weakness, that self-control is not cowardice, that emotional intelligence, when well used, becomes a weapon more lethal than any punch. There, the boy who was born into misery, addiction, and violence was officially crowned the greatest of all time. Not just undefeated in boxing, but undefeated in integrity, in strategy, in his plan. Floyd became the system itself. He controlled his career, his brand, his narrative. He didn't fight for survival. He fought for legacy. And he built that legacy with every decision he made since day one, because he understood that life is a long-term fight. And those who act with urgency, but wait with patience, always win. The climax of his career wasn't a punch, wasn't a knockout, it wasn't a show. The climax was the revelation that it was all worth it. That every lonely dawn, every painful training session, every invisible sacrifice was gestating exactly this: the right to be called the greatest of all time, and that no one could ever take from him. After overcoming every challenge, defeating every obstacle, and proving his undeniable worth to the world, Floyd Mayweather entered a new phase of his journey. The phase where the warrior becomes a master, where the fighter transforms into a symbol, and where the man becomes a code. Because the true hero is not the one who wins for a moment. It's the one who wins forever, and in doing so, leaves footsteps so clear that others can follow. Floyd no longer had anything to prove. He wasn't chasing belts, recognition, or prestige anymore. He had surpassed all of that. While other former champions faded into obscurity, broke, sick, desperately chasing one last moment of attention, Mayweather remained in full control of his life. Strong, rational, a billionaire. Not because he was lucky, but because he had planned every detail with surgical precision. He created his own company, Mayweather Promotions. He broke away from promoters who profited off his back. He took ownership of his image, his brand, his story. Instead of getting paid a salary, he became the owner of the show. While others begged for fights, he picked his opponents. While others fought to get paid, Floyd was the one paying himself. Asterisk, asterisk, and all of this became possible because of something few truly value: long-term thinking. Floyd Mayweather wasn't built just with punches. He was built with vision. A vision of where he wanted to go. A vision of how the game worked. And a vision that kept him from falling into the traps of ego. He didn't fight to prove. He fought to build. And because of that, he never lost focus. He was never seduced by cheap fame. He never traded consistency for momentary applause. He understood that the spotlight fades, but legacy remains. And his legacy was built on a solid foundation. Non-negotiable discipline, constant study, strategic patience, and blind faith in the process. Floyd knew that life rewards those who plant in the invisible, even when no one believes, because the harvest always comes to those who never give up on the seed. He became a mentor without needing to say much, because his results speak for themselves. Because his example is a map, and because his life is living proof that there is a pattern to true success, and it's available to anyone willing to pay the price. Mayweather is the embodiment of the law of gestation in human form. He skipped no steps. He didn't rush. He didn't beg. He simply did what needed to be done, long enough, and one day, reality bowed to consistency. Today, when he speaks, it's with the authority of someone who knows what he's talking about. Someone who lived every comma of the journey. Someone who doesn't sell you motivation, but delivers truth. And the truth is simple. You can get there too, but you need to choose to plant what he planted. You need to water it with the same discipline, and wait as long as it takes, without giving up, without bargaining, without getting distracted, because the code is right in front of you. The code is real. The code works. But only those who are faithful to the process are worthy of the harvest. Now that you know the story, now that you've seen where he came from, now that you've understood how he reached the top, only one question remains. What about you? What are you going to do with this? Floyd Mayweather wasn't lucky. He had vision, had discipline, he had patience. While many were chasing applause, he was chasing evolution. While others gave up for lack of quick results. He kept going, day after day, as if he already knew it was all his. This is the truth few understand. Life doesn't reward the strongest. It rewards those who can endure the process. Those who keep planting, even when no one is watching. Those who believe before they harvest. Floyd's journey is more than a biography. It's a pattern, a code, a map, a tease. And you can follow that same path. It doesn't matter where you came from. What matters is how far you're willing to go. The secret is this: faith in the invisible, action in the present, trust in the process. The rest is time. If this video made sense to you, like it, comment, and share it with someone who needs to wake up, because the code is real, and it's right in front of your eyes right now. The choice is yours. You don't need to be born ready. You need to be born decided.